Hello friends, welcome to my channel. This is a tutorial on how to draft a mermaid skirt pattern with cut together tails. So let's get started. So I've gone ahead to divide my pattern paper into two to draft my front and back skirt pattern, and I've labeled my waistline, hip line and my knee line. So on my waistline I'll mark my waist measurement. On my hip line I'll mark my hip measurement. Then I'll go down to my knee line and I'll come up with 2 inches. Before putting my measurement, I'll come up with 2 inches because I do not want our tail to start directly from the knee. So after marking out the 2 inches, I'll use a straight line to connect. So I'll cancel the first line, and this is our new knee line. So from there, I'll minus 1.5 inches from what I marked on my hip line, and that's our new knee measurement. On my hip line, I go up with 1 inch and come down with 1 inch before connecting my lines. You must not do this. This is optional. I do this to make sure that my curve is well blended. Okay, so I'll go ahead to connect my lines now. Then I'll blend everything well. Then I'll go ahead to mark out the same thing I marked out on my knee line on the rest of my pattern paper, that is on the full length of my skirt. And after doing this, I'll connect it back to the knee line. And this is it for our front. Then for our back, I'll first of all mark out 2 inches allowance for our zipper. Then after doing this, I'll go ahead and impute my waist measurement, go to my hip line and put my hip measurement. Then on my knee line, I'll first of all come up with 2 inches like I did for the front pattern and connect everything. Then after doing this, I'll put my knee measurement, which is whatever I have on my hip minus 1.5 inches. And pay attention, my measurement is starting from the 2 inches, okay? So after doing this, I'll also go up with 1 inch and go down with 1 inch on my hip line like I did for the front. This is basically me repeating everything I did for the front pattern, except that I added zip allowance for the back. So I'll now go ahead and mark out my measurement on the rest of the pattern, which is mark out my 2 inches for zipper allowance, then impute what I put on my knee measurement on the rest of the pattern. Okay, then I'll use a straight ruler to connect everything together. If you are not subscribed to my channel, this is the time to do it so that you don't miss out on upcoming tutorials. Okay, so after doing this, I'll go ahead and cut out my pattern so that we can start the main mermaid skirt pattern drafting. So subscribe to my channel, especially if you are a beginner. I post very helpful tutorials. So on my front pattern, I'll label my waist, my hip, my knee and my full length. Then on my knee line, I'm going to divide it into 2. I'll find out what I have, then I'll go ahead to mark it from my knee down to the full length of my pattern. After that, I'll use a ruler to connect the lines. Then I'll label my side front and my center front. Then I'll divide it with my scissors. Then I'm going to cut this line towards the side front, okay, not the center front, the side, because that's where our mermaid shape goes to. So pay attention to the side, not the center. After this, I'll spread it, okay. I'll use a paper. I'll go ahead and get a paper and spread it. So pay attention and see what I'm doing. So I'll place the center front on a paper on a straight line, then I'll spread the side front. Then I'll measure out 10 inches. You can use more than 10 inches. Just know that the more measurements you use, the more paper and fabric you are going to use. So for me, 10 inches is okay for me. So I'll tape that down. So the table wasn't enough anymore to do this tutorial, so I had to use the floor. Anyway, I'll use my curve ruler to connect it to the center front, okay. After doing this, I'll use my scissors to cut it out. Then after cutting it out, I'll go ahead and fill in the empty spaces in the center. I just don't want to leave it empty like that. So I'll blend my side front of the skirt because I don't want it to be pointy. I want it to have a curve. So for my back pattern, I'll label my waist, my hip, and my knee. Then my full length. The next thing I want to do now is to go to my waistline and I'll reduce my zipper allowance with 1 inch. Then on my hip line, I'll use 1.5 inch. If you have a bigger bum, then you can use the 2 inches. For me, I just prefer to use 1.5. Then I'll connect the 1 inch to the 1.5. Then connect it back to my knee line. This is to create a space where the butt can sit, okay, so that your butt will be well relaxed at the back. Then at the center back of my skirt, I'll come down with 1 inch. Then I'll connect it back to the side waistline of my skirt, okay. This is to make sure that our zipper won't bulge at the back, okay, to avoid zipper bulge, especially since we did not add any dart to this skirt. Then when I'm done doing that, I'll cut it out and cut out the rest of the pattern so that we can go ahead and do our slash and spread. If you are not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, okay. So I'll label it zipper allowance. So after doing this, I'll go to my knee length and divide it by 2. I'll measure what I have there and I'll mark it on the rest of the pattern from my knee line down to the full length of the skirt, just like we did for the front pattern. Then I'll use a ruler to connect the lines together. After doing this, I will go ahead and slash it. Then I'll label my skirt, my center back and my side back. Then I'll slash it towards the side back, not the center, the side. Okay? And I'll get my paper so that I can spread it. Pay attention, I'm not spreading the center back, I'm spreading the side back. I'll mark out 10 inches just like I did for the front. You can use more than these 10 inches if you have enough material to do so. After doing this, I'm going to use my ruler to make a curve. Then I'll cut out the excesses. If there is any part of this video that you find difficult to understand, ask questions on the comment section, and please subscribe to my channel, okay, for helpful tutorials like this. So I'm gonna head to fill up the center and blend my side back just like I did for the front. It's now time to create our tail. So I've added extra paper at the center back starting at my knee line, okay. Look very closely at how I did mine. I started at my knee line, I added extra paper, then I'll measure out what I have there. Whatever it is that I have there, I'll go ahead and add extra 10 inches to it, okay. This is optional. You can just use the measurement you have from your knee down to your full length, but for me, I want my tail to be very long, longer than my original length, so I added extra 10 inches. Then I'll mark that out like I'm making a semicircle. Don't forget to add allowances on your fabric when cutting this out, okay, because we did not add any allowance on this pattern. We only added zipper allowance. So after making my circle, I'll go ahead and cut it out. If you are not subscribed to my channel, this is the time to do it so that you don't miss out on helpful tutorials, especially if you are a beginner, okay. So I'll use my ruler to make my curve and I'll cut it out. So this is what our mermaid skirt looks like, okay. This is the end of this tutorial. Thank you for watching. Bye.